My name is Bruno Biava, and I'm making this live broadcast this morning. Actually, we will not be engaging in chat. Um, it's one of those things that I need to tell a story, and by using live, I'm able to access kind of a more secure channel in order to get my story out. Uh, or this story out. This story is not actually about me, but it involves me. So, let me explain what happened yesterday. As some of you are aware, I live in the community known as Fehrenbacher's Mobile Home Park, um, which is named after the Fehrenbacher family. And Fehrenbacher's Mobile Home Park is a property and actually a community within the confines of the city of Olney in Richland County in Illinois in the United States. Uh, that's where I am. If you Google uh, Fehrenbacher Mobile Home Park um, or Olney Mobile Home Park, more than likely you will be able to find the community in which I live. Well, yesterday I was preparing my lunch and trying to multitask. I was not only preparing my lunch, but I was trying to get out of my presentation clothes. If you may remember Mr. Roberts, or not Mr. Roberts, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. In the beginning of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, he would come home and he would get out of his work clothing, his jacket, and he would put on a sweater, and he would take off his shoes, and he would put on his slippers, and that was all part of a little bit of a ceremony that he had adopted in order to get away from his work and get back into his frame of mind for being home. I have a similar ceremony, I guess you could call it, but mine's a little bit more complex. And so I had heated up my lunch, and I was sitting in a chair, and I was going through this procedure, or going through this little ceremony. And because I bloused my pants, I was removing the blousing from my pants. And to do that, I have to literally drop my trousers down around my drawers. Now, fortunately, I'm wearing underwear as this is going on. I don't go commando, So I have fairly conservative underwear, and I was wearing it. And this is a good thing, because somebody knocked on my door, and I tried to yell at them, and they couldn't hear me. And they actually entered into my house, right into the room in which I was sitting, without my permission. And here I was with my pants down around my ankles. So I kindly instructed them that they need to wait outside, that I will talk to them outside, whatever business it was, but would they please understand that I am not receiving people at this moment, and you need to wait for me outside. Well, fortunately, this individual did this. So I go ahead and I unblouse my shoes, or unblouse my pants, and take off my boots, and I put on some comfortable shoes, and pull my pants back up, and zip my fly, and attach my suspenders to my shoulders, and I step outside. Now we're gonna give these individuals that we're gonna talk about some different names, because they have a right to privacy. But the person who came, we're going to give her the name of Lori. And Lori was looking for the manager of the Fehrenbacher Mobile Home Park. And those of you who've been following the channel know a little bit about the fact that the management has just changed abruptly. She had reached out to our former manager, Sherry, and the number, of course, to reach Sherry has been disconnected. She had stopped by Sherry's house. Sherry was not home. And this individual explained to me that quite a few months ago, she had spoken with Sherry, and that she had ordered a brand new mobile home from a manufacturer and a distributor, or a seller here in Southern Illinois. And she was getting ready to make final arrangements to move the mobile home in. And she was on this Lori had come up on site to evaluate, with the people that help prepare sites for electrical connections and such, so that the pad that she had been promised by the prior management, not the current management, but by the prior management, would be ready. When she could not get a hold of Sherry, she asked around and was directed to my house. That's how she ended up where I was. Well, I explained to Lori that I was not the manager. That's the first thing. And then I had to explain to Lori that the management company had changed. And that's why she could not speak or could not get through to Sherry Yates, who had been our manager. So here's this woman who's arrived unannounced, literally caught me with my pants down, but comically, because, how can I put it? At least I'm a decent man. And she has just bought a brand new mobile home, has been promised a site here, and arrives to find out that the people who promised her that site are no longer managing the mobile home park. Now, Lori, in addition to this, has sold her existing home. And the closing date is closing very rapidly. The home has been sold, and they are to take occupancy of her existing home very shortly. So Lori is betwixt and between. She has to move out of her existing home, which she can no longer afford because of the property tax on it. She has bought a mobile home which needs to be delivered. And then she arrives here to the site where she had been promised, by her account, a lot here, only to find out that the company that she had dealt with, the management company that no longer manages Fehrenbacher Mobile Home Park, is not accessible, and that she has to contact another entity. It was quite a shock to Lori. So Lori, she said, what do I do? What do I do? And I said, well, who are you with? Who is your significant? Are you married? And she said, no, she's not. And she said she had a boyfriend. We're going to give him a name. We're going to call him Mark, right? And I said, well, first of all, you need to tell your boyfriend, Mark, which she called up. And of course, Mark was livid beyond livid. and he insisted that the mobile home was going to come and it was going to be set on that pad come hell or high water. Well, this is the drama that unfolded in front of me yesterday. And you can imagine, I would hope, what it would be like to be in either Lori or Mark's shoes. And they were not aware of the, how can I put it, the possible pitfalls of moving into a mobile home park. This is like the worst possible situation. But once you're in a mobile home park, once you're established in a mobile home park, and you live in a mobile home park, and you're a resident and a renter and a tenant, these kind of things actually happen each time the mobile home park management changes, or if the mobile home park is sold. That's kind of what it's like. So here are Lori and Mark. They're preparing this. They're thinking they're preparing the site to receive their mobile home. They think they've got all their T's all their T's crossed and all their I's dotted, only to find out suddenly everything has changed. The new managers of the mobile home park here in Olney is the Blank Family Communities Management Company out of Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. They are out of state. They are probably well over 300 miles away from Olney. According to the documentation that I have received that was taped to my door, it shows Tom Fehrenbacher it shows Fehrenbacher LLC's address of 1500 South Whittle Avenue, Olney, Illinois, as the office for the mobile home park. Over the years, I have spoken with Mr. Fehrenbacher repeatedly, and he has made it absolutely well known that he, and in no uncertain terms to me, that he has nothing to do with the mobile home park anymore. I have been told by Sherry Yates that H.H. Olney LLC tells the management companies to use the address of Fehrenbacher Mobile Home Park as a local office, which basically sets up the Fehrenbacher LLC as the front. So, simply put, any correspondence is sent to the Fehrenbacher office. They can open it, and then, it's addressed to them. They have every right in the world because it says Fehrenbacher Mobile Home Park, and they had been the owners. And I assume that they probably open that mail and they go, oh, wait, this is mobile home park stuff. And they set it in a pile of stuff, and they call the management company or whoever it is they call to go ahead and pick up the mail. But simply put, they know everything that's going on here and can partially control it if somebody is less than earnest in that office, which I pray they aren't less than, I pray that they are earnest, that they still have our welfare in mind. But I'm telling you about all this because I'm trying to make you, the listener or the viewer of this video, aware of the pitfalls of living in a mobile home park. It is akin to buying a car that does not run, that has to be towed everywhere, that has to be licensed, and has to be parked, and it is not easily moved, and it has to be provided with utilities, it has to be provided with insurance, and it has to be kept up. And in addition to that, you also have to keep up on the property which you do not own, that is about your mobile home park. Or not your mobile home park, but about your mobile home. It is a huge responsibility to which you just simply don't win. Because the vast majority of mobile home parks, if not nearly all of them, are now owned by corporations, limited liability corporations, such as H.H. Olney, LLC, of Clearwater, Florida. It doesn't matter if you're buying a new mobile home and moving it into the park. It doesn't matter if you're buying a mobile home park or a mobile home on site. You are living literally in your home at the pleasure of the manager, the management company, and the officers of the company that owns the property under you. You are living there only at their pleasure, which means at their whim. Now, yes, there are rules and regulations and law or statutes in the state of Illinois that lay out the rights of, the mobile home park owners have regulations that they must adhere to properly operate in the state of Illinois. There are rules that lay out the rights of both tenants and landlords in the state of Illinois. And of course, there are rules or statutes that lay out the behavior between individuals in the state of Illinois and what constitutes such things as deceptive practice and fraud. All of these things are coming into play here, and they have been coming into play ever since the Fehrenbacher family sold the mobile home park. I am aware of these things, and I am literally myself stuck here. I can't afford to move my home. Indeed, if I was to try to move my home, it would more than likely disintegrate as it was moved. But Lori and Mark have a brand new home that's coming into this. It can be moved. In fact, it hasn't even arrived yet. But it can be moved, and for a limited amount of time after it's set here, it still can be moved, provided that they have the resources. But those resources are very, very expensive, and simply put, not everyone has them. So, like so many people have, when they bought their mobile home from the dealer, of course, the dealer is happy to move a mobile home. That's their business. They buy them from the manufacturer or arrange for a mobile home to be constructed by a manufacturer, and then they act as the middleman. And they promote the manufacturer's product and they sell it. It's no different than a car lot. If you've ever dealt with buying a new or used car, It is the same thing, the same tactics, and some of them are quite slimy. I know because for a brief season I sold automobiles. Didn't last long because I was honest, but I sold automobiles. Selling a mobile home through a dealership is the same thing. Same one, same thing. It's just trying to get somebody to buy something, and you'll, a salesman will stoop to incredibly low levels to do it, and sometimes will the sales managers. But nonetheless, poor Lori and poor Mark. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Maybe. Poor Lori and poor Mark are stuck in this situation. They've signed the dotted line as far as receiving this mobile home. They're on the hook for it. I don't know if they bought it outright or if they've financed it. I believe they financed it. So they have an obligation to uphold their reputation by honoring that contract that they signed. I don't think, or I don't know, I should say, I don't know if they signed a contract with the prior management company of this mobile home park. If they had simply done this on what would be legally known as hearsay, without signing a lease or signing any kind of an agreement with the former management company, well, that is on Lori and Mark. So I'm trying to explain all this to these people, and the drama is quite intense on my, in the driveway in front of my mobile home, which I often refer, any land I refer to as deck. But nonetheless, out in front. And of course, I'm trying to explain this to Lori and Mark. And finally, I said to them, I said, do you have an attorney? And Lori said that Mark does. And I said, well, what you need to do, and I know this is going to be difficult, is you need to speak to that attorney. Well, Lori had asked me for the name and telephone number of the local manager. This information I had verified through the Richland County Tax Assessor's Office, so I gave it to her. I also gave her my telephone number and my name and my address, my physical address here. Lori was so gracious as to give me her telephone number, and with the permission of her boyfriend, also gave me Mark's. And then I told them, what you need to do is you need to go home and you need to think about this for 3 days. And then you need to either call me back so that we can discuss this a little bit more, or you need to call your attorney so that you can discuss it with them or with the attorney's office and see if there's something you can do. And what I offered to do for Lori and Mark is be what's called a legal advocate. A legal advocate is typically a non-professional. They listen to people's plaints, plaints, and they try to guide people through the legal process. A legal advocate speaks on behalf of or offers counsel to, in a non-binding form, the people who bring their plaints to them. And that is precisely what happened yesterday. Lori had brought her plaint to me, and I listened, and I want to help Lori and Mark, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to do that. But nonetheless, the purpose of this video today isn't to, actually engage in conversation or engage in chat, but it is to get the word out so that people may be able to access this video who are contemplating moving into a mobile home park, that they may be able to learn just what some of the possibilities are if they choose to make that jump. So there's that. Now, in my next video, I'm going to go ahead and maybe lay out, or not maybe, I'm going to lay out things you can do or things you should do before you sign on the dotted line to move in to a mobile home park with a new home, so that you don't end up in the same situation as Lori and Mark, or at least you will have gathered the documentation that you may be able to present a case against the corporation that is owning the mobile home park in court. In this type of a situation, there is no quick and easy resolution. The kind of situation I've described. Unless you are able to find an attorney who is able to see what is really happening. The deceptive practice and the attempts at fraud, because that's basically what's going on with Lori and Mark in my eyes. It's attempted deceptive practice or fraud, because they've been misled. They were told things by the retailer, whom she, this is what I've gathered, this is what I'm hearing. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. But if they were both there, depending on their reputations, and they both are convincing in their presentation to an attorney, the attorney may aggressively pursue this case, and I mean quite aggressively, and have an investigation launched into the practices. That's my prayer anyway. And in this moment, I am going to try everything I can, as much as they would desire for me to do, for them, to help them. When God created our world, it was perfect in the beginning. When God created man, he created us really out of love. I mean, out of clay and water and such, we were fashioned. But those of us who are getting older and wiser know that the only purpose that we're here on earth is to really receive God's love and to share God's love. We're not placed here to take advantage of each other and to scheme over each other and to play with each other like we're pawns. We're here to learn. We're here to practice. We're here to convey love, not to pull the wool over each other's eyes and take advantage of each other. These are things I've known since I was a kid. But when I hear stories like Lori and Mark's, when I have the experience that I have, and when I have the faith that I have, I know I can't stand still in something like this and just simply say it's none of my business. It's all of my business. It should be all of everybody's business. Because if we ignore these kinds of things, when there's something that we can do, even if it's just to merely listen and give comfort and a little time, well, that takes away from our mission here on earth. That takes away from the reason that God created us and created humankind and gave us the ability to reason and to make decisions. Because ultimately, when we die, Jesus comes. Indeed, he does for us. And we come face to face with the man whose blood was shed for our benefit out of his love for us. And we have to look this individual, Jesus, in the eye. And we're going to have to come face to face with our own souls. For all eternity. And contemplate. Did we, once we became aware of his sacrifice, did we simply use his blood the same way we use water when we take a shower after we've gotten dirty? A lot of people live that way. I try not to. I love our God. I respect him. I try to follow all the rules. And when I've had to break them, I have prayed first, fervently, for forgiveness. I know that I too will have to answer for the amount of blood that was shed for me in the choices I've made in my life. Those ultimately are the things that guide me. And these are the things that I keep in mind when an individual like Lori knocks at my door and has a plaint that needs to be heard. That's pretty much all I've got for you this morning. I'm going to go ahead and end this video, as I always do. I really hope everybody has a great day. It's been a beautiful evening. It's going to be a beautiful morning. We may have some rain through it today here. But please, choose to convey God's love today as much as you can. And if somebody comes along and there's nothing you can do, or very little you can do, at least take a moment and offer to pray with that individual. And should they be in such a frame of mind that they're not receptive to that, and they turn away, don't give up hope on that individual in that moment, but take a moment of your own and pray for that individual, that God may bless them. Just as I am right now, praying for both Lori and Mark, and the management company and the owners, that they're able to behave in a way that is more civil and more reasonable and more forthright and upfront and honest and more compassionate towards people like Lori and Mark. That they understand that basically in God's eyes we're all the same. And that it's not worth it to take advantage of one another, as it appears that Lori and Mark have been. So that is my prayer this morning. So be it, is my wish. And for the rest of you, well, nothing left to say, but good luck. Godspeed. And we'll see you around town.